WVTC Radio Detroit. You can find us on Facebook, YouTube, X, and our website, www.wvtcdetroit.com, or download our WVTC app from the Play Store for Android users and the App Store for iPhone users.
Welcome to Blessings and Breakthrough with your host, Coach Bridget Williams-Frazier, right here on the WVTC Detroit Network. Come and experience this moment where faith meets inspiration and every story is a step forward to your next. Get ready to explore the power of blessings in our lives and the victories that follow us through life. Are you ready? Let's talk about what God has done and will do for you.
Hello. How's everyone doing today? Wonderful. I'm so glad we're here again tonight on Blessings and Breakthrough. I'm sitting here wondering, where is everybody at? This is what happens when it snows. My mind get all messed up. But I am so glad. Welcome, family and friends, to another powerful edition of Blessings and Breakthroughs. I am so glad that you're here. I want you to come on, share, and like with everyone, your friends, everybody that you know. Share with them to come on to Blessings and Breakthrough tonight, because we have a great show for you. I have a special guest tonight. We're going to talk about, our topic tonight is critical thinking. So a critical thinker is something we're going to find out about tonight. So get ready, get your popcorn, get your hot chocolate, and let's enjoy the show tonight. I thank God for bringing me here again today, and I am so excited. I have some really great news to tell y'all tonight. It's so exciting. I cannot wait to tell you all. It is amazing that. And first, I want to thank and honor my sponsor tonight, which is Dick's Block Supply Company. I want to thank them again tonight for sponsoring the show and being so helpful and thankful and helping in the community to make sure that we have a show like this to provide and to let others know that you can come there and get all of your masonry supplies, all of the supplies needed, the bricks, the blocks, the rocks, everything at a reasonable price. And they're there. They also deliver to you. They're located on Dix Road, right off of 75 Freeway in Lincoln Park. So go and visit them. Go and tell them that you heard about them on Blessings and Breakthroughs. And guess what? You might get an additional discount just by mentioning you heard about them on WVTC Detroit Radio, Blessings and Breakthrough. So go and give them some support. They've been around for over 50 years, and they are really helpful, beautiful people, and they want to help us to make our homes beautiful. And they have reasonable prices, I have to say. And I can tell you one thing that I really love that they had is some glow rocks that make your yard glow at night when you're out in the back and you're having a patio, a bonfire with your family celebrating. You'd be amazed of how beautiful it looks with the rocks glowing in the night. So go check out Dick's Block Supply Company. Don't forget them. So now I want to give you my amazing, amazing news. I am so excited and I am so happy that God has blessed me one more time to be able to publish my second very own book, Live Amazingly. You all look at my book. And this book, I tell you, it is amazing. If you are not living the life that you were meant to be living, and you want to figure out what's going on and what I'm not doing and what I need to do, go get the book. I give you a lot of reflection questions, affirmations, uplifting prayers in the book. This book will help you turn your pain into purpose. It will help you in days that you are stuck. You know, myself, I put affirmations all around my house. And I tell you what, this book right here, I put them all in there. I put them all there for you because they work for me. They help me. And as I go through my days, I say to myself, I love me. That's what I tell one of my affirmations. And it says, I am powerful. Yes, I am blessed. Yes, nothing's impossible for me. Those are the affirmations you want to say to yourself every morning, every day to get you on your start to being blessed and to live your dream and to be boldly. All right. Thank you. Go out and get the book. It's at Amazon. I appreciate you. Thank you. And with no further ado, I don't want to hold up all of our time because we have a very special guest coming on tonight. We have a doctor coming on tonight for us. She's going to talk to us about critical thinking and how we think and why we think what we think and how we maneuver with this life, being professionals, being smart, knowing it all, and just trying to figure out. Sometimes the brain be overworking us and we do so much. And we want to get to a point where we know why we're thinking the way we think. So she's going to come on tonight. So I want us to welcome her. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about her before she comes on tonight. But before we go and start the show, again, all of you that's just joined, please share and like with everyone you know. Tell them to get on the show. We got some critical thinking going on, and we want everybody to get engaged. And please put answers or questions in the chat. Any questions, say where you're from. If you would like to ask the doctor some questions, you can also feel free to put those in the chat as well. She'll be glad to answer any questions that we may have. So let's get ready for a great night tonight. Let's say a prayer so we can start our night. All right. Thank you. God, we want to thank you for this night. We want to thank you for the blessings. We want to thank you for all that you've done for us, all that you have yet to do for us, God. And we know that you are a power God of all things. And there's nothing too hard for you. Anything we need, anything we want, anything we going through, you will help us to solve. And we want to know that you are always in the midst of the weather. You're in control of that, so that those that's on the roads, those that's trying to get where they're going, God, please protect them tonight. Make sure that we're all safe in our homes, and continue to bless those families out there that may be in need, may be wanting something and just don't know and can't get. And God, we know that you know the answers and you will provide for all of our needs. And we want to thank you, God and Father. You are Father, a true Father of all of our lives. And we thank you in the name of Jesus. Amen. All right. So I'm going to bring on our guest because I don't want to delay, because we may have some questions and we want to give her enough time to come on and share with us some of the answers and questions about a critical thinker. And this person that I'm bringing on tonight, her name is Dr. Blethy Holly Cleverly. And she is the thinker and an advocator. She is a speaker, an author, and consultant who helps higher performing leaders, founders, a public figure handler of the pressures that comes with being smart, visible, and reasonable for a lot. She is trained in multiple places. She has trained around the world, including Harvard and the Amen clinics. She's been doing this work for more than 15 years. She specialized in people with intense, high power minds, folks who succeed on the outside but struggle with overthinking, burnouts, or even a bit of self sabotage. Yes. She's very great at translating between brain types, supporting corporations with neurodivergence, or brilliant but challenging employees. Dr. Cleverly is also the founder of the Thinker Revolution, giving driven minds a community and a name. She loves helping people at those big fork road moments. She loves to help. Recently, she's spoken at Simon Fraser University and has been interviewed across multiple media outlets, pushing forward a new conversation about how we think and about thinking, because we have to think, and sometimes we think too much. So why don't you all help me in welcoming Dr. Belthy Holly Clever to the show?
Thank you for that introduction. It's a pleasure to be here on WVTC Detroit. What an honor to be able to occupy the airwaves with you tonight, and congratulations on your new book.
Thank you so much, and thank you for coming to the show to bless our hearts tonight. We are in for a beautiful show tonight and some exciting information, and thank you. I can't thank you enough for coming onto the show, Dr. Cleverly, for just sharing your wealth of information and knowledge and helping us to know how we think the way we think. Mm-hmm. And so unless you want to start off, I would like to ask you a question to get us started.
Sure.
And Dr. Cleverly, what do you feel it means to be a critical thinker? How about we start there?
Right. Well, everybody thinks, right? It's part of the human condition is to think. I think, therefore I am. But to be a critical thinker means that you don't just accept everything that you're told at face value. So you analyze things, you really think it through. You might think outside the box, for example, and you discern, is this really true, or does this feel quite right? And you're willing to change your mind. So that's one of the hallmarks of critical thinking is, let's say you believe something, and then somebody can prove to you with logic and reason that that's not really true. Are you willing to change your mind, right? Do you have that open-mindedness? That's part also of being a critical thinker.
Okay. What are the blessings of being a critical thinker?
Oh, there's lots of them. There's lots of them, because if you can analyze things and you can see patterns in things, you can connect the dots that other people can't connect. Right. So at work, that can be very useful. You can be a very useful employee in your life. When you're looking at relationships and you're seeing some of those red flags, you can put them together. Right. You can also see the green flags. So being a critical thinker, the benefits are many in that you also see the big picture of things, that you can take a step back and see the bigger picture, not just, narrowly focused on something. So it's a great way to be. Everybody, I think, could benefit from a little more critical thinking.
Okay. Are there also burdens that go with that?
Oh, yes. like all things, right? So you've got your pros and your cons. So with critical thinking, a person who is prone to that tends to have a lot of thoughts. So they tend to think more on average than other people. And that's where the overthinking component comes in. Now, there's no such thing, in my opinion, as thinking too much in the right direction. But too often we're not doing that, right? We're thinking in the wrong direction, where it becomes a problem when suddenly we can't make choices, we can't make our decisions for ourselves because we get analysis paralysis, for example. When we feel stuck, right? In rumination and circling thoughts over and over again. That would be a downside of being a person who has a thinking mind, not necessarily a critical thinker, but a thinking mind. And most critical thinkers fall into that category.
Okay. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, what breakthroughs are necessary for people who think this way?
But they have to understand that for themselves, if you're a thinker, you can identify yourself with your thoughts. That's very easy to do. But the breakthrough, probably the biggest one, Bridget, is to know that you're not your thoughts. You are separate from your thoughts. And if you're really keen on thinking and you have many, many thoughts running through your mind, you can get sidetracked with thinking that's who I am. And because I think that, I am that, and I cannot change. But in actuality, your thoughts are not who you are. And when I tell that to people who have an overthinking mind, they're like, well, then who am I? Because I've wrapped my identity in with my mind, right? With my brain. The answer to that is you are the person who is observing your thoughts. And to prove that to you, I will tell you that you don't even believe everything you think. So you'll get a thought that passes your mind and you'll say, did I just think that? Well, obviously you did, right? Because you're saying it. But it's so sneaky. It's kind of like, like that ticker tape that's running here right now. That's the way our thoughts are. That are running subconsciously and throughout the mind, just like, news flash, you're not good enough, news flash, this is going to happen, news flash, catastrophe ahead, that our minds do to us, right? And it's because they're untrained. So the breakthrough is that you are in control to be able to train your mind and to change that ticker tape that's going on. And so you analyze your thought and you say, okay, I see the thought. That's not me. I see it. It belongs to me, but it is not me. Is it true? And is it helpful? And then you go from there.
Okay. Because I know sometimes my brain is just going. It won't stop thinking. I'm like, stop thinking. Like I'm trying to go to sleep, and it's just thinking of what I got to do and what I didn't do and what I got to do next week and what I have to do while I'm sleeping. And I'm like, stop, brain, stop working. How do you control that? Like,
yes. Well, first off, that's the wrong command. So you never command your mind or your brain to stop working or to stop thinking. That's a bad idea, right? Okay. We want it to continue to work for us. We give it another task or assignment. So in a case like that, for critical thinkers, a lot of them do have trouble sleeping. And so there's a few tips that I give. First off, put a notepad beside your bed. Okay. And then you have a notepad beside your bed. All those thoughts that come up that you have to deal with, you write them down. And then they're out of your head because people will subconsciously hold them, until the morning, think, I can't forget this, so I have to hold it. No, the main job you have at that moment is to sleep. So you give your mind a new assignment. You say, okay, mind, thank you very much for keeping me safe and well. As part of that, we are going to have our rejuvenation and rest time, because that's when your brain and your whole body actually rejuvenates and resets, right? So we're going to do that. The most important thing for you to do is to take that to-do list, and we're going to put that for tomorrow. And you can actually physically have the to-do list there. Put it for tomorrow. I'm going to have the thing by my bed. If there's something really important, you know what? I'm not even going to turn on the light. I'm just going to grab it and I'm just going to write something. So I used to have this thing that had a little pen inside with a little tiny littlest night light, because otherwise it will wake you up, into full consciousness, hard to get back to sleep. And then you can put that down. So, but you give the task out to the mind that this is the most important thing. And then you give it another task and say, okay, we're going to do something rather mundane. And that's where people talk about counting sheep and things like that. The mind gets bored. And so you fall asleep. And you'll find oftentimes people will say, I tried to meditate and I fell asleep. Okay, well then if you want to fall asleep, why don't you try and meditate? Right? Doesn't that make sense? If your mind gets tired, bored of what you're presenting to it, it will drift off to sleep. So that's on the idea of the mind. What can you do for sleep? Other than that, physically, there's a number of things you can do. You never exercise within 3 hours of bedtime.
Oh,
Because,
really?
yes, because you're actually waking up, all of those endorphins and everything. You're waking up your body and your mind. So not within 3 hours of your bedtime. You take a hot bath. And after that, you don't do anything. You allow that to be your reset, and then you go right to bed. For example, that's another thing that you can do. Taking magnesium can be helpful, especially if you end up with, cramps at night, restless leg, things like that. Magnesium bisglycinate has been very helpful for that. So that's another thing that you can do. There's a number of things. You can envision yourself in the most comfortable, warm place that you can imagine sleeping in, and then tell yourself you have to get up. You know how it is in the morning when you
Yeah.
have to get up and the alarm goes off and you're like, oh my, I just want to stay here.
Yes.
You just say to yourself, oh, this is so warm, this is so wonderful. Oh, it's too bad I'm going to have to get up. And your body says, oh no, I don't. So those are a few little mind tricks, if you will, Bridget. I hope those are helpful.
I was like that this morning. I was like, oh, I don't want to get up. I was thinking, oh, I can't wait to retire. I don't want to get up right now. But my brain was like, well, you have to get up. So yeah, I have those thoughts a lot of mornings that I'm like, no, it's not time to get up. The alarm clock goes off and your brain is like, oh, I just need to rest 5 more minutes. That's another question.
Mm-hmm.
So you know how you always say to yourself, okay, I'm going to get up in 5 more minutes, in 10 more minutes. Is that good for the brain, for you, a thinker, to think that is helping you to get that extra 5 or 10 minutes, or is it good to just get on up and go?
It really depends on who you are and your personality and what part of the sleep cycle you're in, I would say, at that time. But if you have to get up and leave that 5 or 10 minutes or whatever, I guess, does it make you late? Does it make you stressed? That would be my biggest question. If you stay for 5 or 10 minutes more, is that putting you into a stress response? Because if it is, then it's better to get up earlier.
So someone says, how do you attention issues factors into overthinking?
Attention issues. So do you mean like ADD, or can you expand on what that means? Attention issues. I'm going to assume that that's what she means. And so with, attention deficit, for example, disorders, or with hyperactivity, a lot of people who have that, now I don't diagnose and treat disease, but I can tell you that the majority of my clients end up being what I call neurointense. So that's not a diagnosis, that's a profile. And so we do tend to have more intensive brains. Yes. Okay. Thank you, Teresa. We do intend to have more intensive brains. And with ADD, there's a lot of tabs open in our minds, if you will. Right. So a lot happening behind the scenes in our brain. And so it can be very difficult to control the thoughts even more when you have that. And so, some people, they turn to medication, for example. Some people turn to red wine, which is not what I would recommend for them. Right. But what is really good for that neurotype, I have found, is running. So if they find some sort of activity that they can do that really gets their heart rate up, and maybe for you, it's not going to be running, maybe it's going to be swimming, maybe it's going to be, on the treadmill or something, that can be really helpful and give the same sort of benefits that a lot of the other, self-medicating can do. So it is one of those things. And, I say that quite often, it's kind of, life is kind of, for these people, like a hike. Right? It's like a hike for all of us up a mountain. So the mountain of life, let's just say that. So, life is a mountain that we have to climb. Actually, we get to climb it. I think nobody's forcing us to climb the mountain. I think we chose to come and climb the mountain. Okay. And so, and it's like this, isn't it? Like, even if the mountain looks straight up, it's actually, like, if you talk to hikers, it's hills and valleys. There's like little divots along the way, right? And sometimes it can be quite challenging, very steep getting up that mountain. And we think, oh, why did I sign up for this? I can't make it to the top of this mountain. I'm so tired, right? And then you get to the next plateau, and it's like, oh, look at the view, isn't it beautiful? It's so beautiful. It was worth the climb to get to here, right? And then you keep going upwards, and then you fall down and you're smack on your face in the mud, and you're like, this is not fun.
Okay.
Right? That's life. It goes like this and like this. Now, Bridget, most of us, we want life to look like this, right? Just even keeled, an easy walk.
Right.
But this isn't life. This is flatlining. This means you're dead, right?
Yeah.
This is life. And so we all have that. Now, with somebody who has that neurotype, that Teresa was talking about, and many other neurotypes too that are neurointense, it's kind of like you're walking up that same mountain as everybody else, but you're carrying a pack with you. Okay, you're carrying a pack, and so that's a bit heavier. It makes it harder to get up the mountain. And those are all the thoughts that you have, and all of the lack of focus and the overfocus in some areas, right? And then at the same time, you've got a hidden benefit, and that is like a wind-up crank or key on the back. Do you remember those toys that had those? The wind-up.
Yes.
Yeah.
The wind-up toys.
Yes, you've got that on your back. Okay, and that's motivation that is like propelling you up that mountain. So a lot of people with these, neurointense brains kind of have this self-propelled thing that pushes them up the mountain. I got to get going. I got to get doing it. I got to get to the top. I'm driven. And then when they get to the top, however, they're not enjoying the view as much. They're looking, oh, there's another mountain way over there. I got to go there now.
Right.
Right. So that's kind of the analogy of how a lot of the people that I work with, for example, they have that sort of that brain type where they're scattered in some ways and not focused, and then in one area it's a super focus, right? And maybe that's work that propels them up the mountain, but then you have to worry about burnout, right?
Okay.
So those are the blessings, right? And also the burdens that come with that.
Okay. All right. So you said that many of the clients that you work with are neurointense. Is that a formal diagnosis?
No, it's not. So I like the term because, well, I don't diagnose and treat disease, but I really like the term because a lot of us who are neurointense, we don't have a diagnosis. Like we weren't given a diagnosis, and it can be very costly and time consuming to try and get one, especially as an adult. But we know that, we have brains that are like set for sound, right? Like they're very highly active.
Okay.
And we perceive things and we see things, and we're overstimulated easily. Like, oh, the lights are too bright, or it's too hot, or it's too cold, or various things like the comfort levels, right? And or too many people, or, social anxiety, various other things. And you don't necessarily need a diagnosis to know that you need to self-regulate a little more than other people.
Okay. Right? If your opinion, do you think that grief ADD is a real diagnosis?
So I have not researched grief ADD. That's not something that's been presented to me before. I guess it depends where they're getting that diagnosis. And during times of grief, obviously you're going to go through a cycle of emotions that go back and forth into each other over and over again, right? So it's not the way that people think that it's like one and done. Okay, I've gone through anger. Now I'm on acceptance. So I won't go back to anger. It's not the way it is, right? So you go back and forth in all of the different stages and steps of grieving. And for some people, they feel that, it lessens. But for some people that I've spoken to, they say that the difficulty lasts for many years for them. But each person is individually different, right? I think if you don't have a neurointense brain to begin with, I would be surprised at the diagnosis, but that's out of my scope.
Okay. Thank you for answering those questions so far. Mm-hmm. And anyone, please, again, put your questions in the chat. We want to make Belfi, Dr. Cleverly, help us today. So make sure you put your questions in the chat. Let's utilize her while she's here. Mm-hmm. So Dr. Cleverly, What field does these individuals often rise to the top in?
Well, I've worked with many people in different fields, but I find that in engineering and in tech, a lot of them are founders and CEOs of companies. I've had some people who were in the public eye, celebrity, for example. The people who are navigating a lot of authority and responsibility, because they have that wind up crank on their back, they do excel and get to the top of the mountain of their field, right? So it can be in very, very many different environments. And recently I've been helping people in the corporate environment as well. So if you think of somebody like Sheldon Cooper from The Big Bang Theory, if you know that show, a brilliant person. He has this sort of neurotype. I call this, these people that I work with, MCN, so metacognitive neurotypes, and because they think about thinking, right? They're that type of brain. But if you imagine the difficulty that the university that employed him would have to harness his brilliance and to be able to meet his needs and his demands, it would be difficult. So I go in and I champion for that brain type because they don't understand how other people think and other people don't understand how they think. So I translate between these brain types so that person can thrive in a corporate environment versus quit or be fired or lose his job, or other people around them be really upset and quit. So by the time I come in, there's quite often quite a bit of fragmentation that needs to be fixed, right? So those are some of the places in which I've worked.
Okay. All right. Seems like you work with a lot of executives. Seems like the most in corporate is what I'm hearing.
Executives, actually, it's usually the president or the founder. It's the founder of the company generally that I work with.
Okay.
But at the same time, if they have, I'm called in sometimes by HR because they end up with a challenging individual contributor or regular person that they want to keep because they've got the secret sauce of the company, right? They've got all that institutional knowledge. And so they call me in because HR isn't equipped to deal with that. So when it comes to one-on-one consulting, usually it's the founder or somebody high up in the company or an individual person of their own right that's coming towards me, or it's working in conjunction with HR.
Okay. So do they hire you to come in for the organization to just help them or their employees as well?
For both. So usually what has to happen is there's more than one person being affected, right? So the leader needs to know how to deal with this person. This person needs to know how to play nice in the sandbox. Other people around him need to understand that it's not an attitude problem. Unless it is. There are some cases where it's not a neurotype or a brain type thing, but it's rare that happens. But either way, then I can give a solution to the company that says, okay, we've tried everything then before letting this person go, right? So that they don't go to the competitor, they don't go to the lawyer's office.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you call yourself the thinker's advocate. What is exactly, break that down for us?
Well, yes, I'm a thinker, and I think because a lot of us are misunderstood, right? Like the Sheldon Coopers of the world, misunderstood. And he's not trying to be difficult. It's just literally the way he's wired. So I advocate or champion for that type of person. And, I realized that my brain was different than other people around me when I was like 15. And I thought, why? Why do I think so much deeper, so much more, so much deeper? Why do I not care about, the, popularity of other people in the high school or things like that? I care more about what's happening in the world and injustice and all these other things. Why am I so different? And that put me on a mission, from the time I was 15. So I've had, at least 5 years to think about it, right?
Okay.
I've had a long time to think about it. And finally come up with, advocacy for people like me.
Okay, well, we have another question. Do you have any tips to help young adults recognize their critical thinking skills and abilities?
To recognize them. So, to notice what you're noticing, to be the observer, and to question what you're already believing. Is it true? Is it verifiably true? Or are you just afraid that it's true? Or have you been told that it's true? So many of our belief systems we've inherited, or they're thoughts that other people have. They're not really even ours, right? And we have to separate them from what we believe, from what we think about ourselves and the world, because the foundation of everything we're taught happens when we're very little. And if we don't question that again in our lives, then we're built on belief systems of a 6-year-old. So we need to actually unpack, do I believe that really, truly? Do I want to continue to believe that? Is it true? Is it helpful? I call that the yes test. You have to answer yes to both those questions in order to keep a thought around, and not replace it, because you can replace it. The hardest time I can tell you in trying to change and verify your beliefs is when it's a partial truth. So you ask yourself, is this really true? And listen in your body. So for critical thinkers, we're in our heads. And so a huge tip is to go inside your body and to say, okay, this thought, I believe that the world is a good place, for example. And then is that uplifting, or is that heavy? Is it contractive? Or is it expansive? Right? Well, that's expansive, right? But if I have another thought that says, oh, I'm not good enough, that's contractive. It tells you that your body is saying, no, I reject this. I don't like this. This is not true, right? Versus this is true, or I like this. So we choose what we're going to believe, right? If we have a partial truth, then that gets really tricky, where part of the thing is true and part of it isn't true. And then we have to decipher the true part from the false part. That takes major critical thinking, but it's very rewarding if you learn to do that.
Okay. Thank you for that answer. I have a question. My question is, how does this brain type relate to spirituality?
So a lot of the people in the world, again, think Sheldon Cooper. If you tried to talk to him about faith, and if you've watched Young Sheldon, for example, and I just use him as an example because it's the most famous.
Okay.
He rejected his mother's religion, right? He rejected spirituality in that show, but he believed in science. So if you could bring about the idea of spirituality and that there's something more out there than what you physically see through science, then they'll listen. So I've had most success in talking with this, engineering type brain, for example, when I talk about the laws of thermodynamics. So that first law of thermodynamics is regarding how energy cannot be extinguished, only converted. And that's what we are. We are spirit, we are light energy, right? And it converts at the point of death, right? It cannot be extinguished. We cannot be extinguished. We are like any other form of energy. And talking to them on that level of the science and physics is usually what appeals the most to them. Some of them have had hurt in the past, religious injury, I call it. Right. And I help them sometimes with spiritual rehabilitation. Most people are not with this neurotype, don't come to me for that unless they're going through a loss, unless they're in an existential crisis. And then that is how I help them to reason with, their spirituality. And I tell them they need a foundation of belief. So just like I had just said, of going through, what do you really believe? Is it true? Is it partially true? Right.
Okay.
These things are all important.
Okay, awesome. Dr. Cleverly, tell me, why did you name your company Fork in the Road? That's what I wanted to ask you.
I love that name. When I look back on my life, there's been many forks in the road, and that is the time of greatest potential. It's also the time when you're scared the most. Okay. And when you're standing in front of those posts, and you've got to go one way or the other, and you can't go back, right? That's the time when you say, okay, I'm willing to make a change. I'm willing to learn and do something different from here on in. And only at that point, when you're standing at those forks, will you really move ahead, right? So when a person comes to that conclusion, I'm at a fork in the road in my life, they know that they need to change. Something needs to change.
Okay, that's when you feel stuck. And now I'm going to go to Dr. Cleverly to get me unstuck, right?
I often say I help them choose a clearer path, right?
Okay.
And so again, it's that analysis paralysis. Do I go here? Do I go there? What happens if? And all the what ifs, right? All of the future casting, which may or may not be accurate, that they're doing, all of these meta model violations, we call them, these thinking violations, these thinking traps that we fall into, like black and white, all or nothing thinking, everything is bad or everything is good, right? Like that doesn't exist, really. Yeah. Life is a series of shades of gray, right? So everything is not, so starkly contrasting. Most things and most decisions that we make in life, there'll be a bit that we like about it and a bit we don't.
Yeah, that is true. There is a lot that you like, and then there is a couple that you like. I don't know why I do this, or it's something that you just feel like, why am I doing this?
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that's all a part of critical thinking.
That's all a part of life. And then critical thinking allows you to be able to analyze with your pros and your cons, to see patterns in what did I like about that and what didn't I like about that? How do I need to change this? Right? What happens if I do this? Then this is a consequence. So when you have proper critical thinking, you learn how to respond instead of react. Right? Which is very important in dealing with people and in circumstances that could change your life.
That is true. Sometimes you have to really think before you just lash out. Someone may make you angry, and you immediately want to respond. And if you wait a moment and just think about it and relax and go back 5 or 10 minutes, you answer completely differently.
Right. And ultimately you want to have the action that you're going to feel good about after. Right. So it might feel good in the moment to say something, but feel very bad after. So the course of wisdom is to choose what you're going to feel good about later.
Right.
And so the skills that I give to these neurotypes, for example, is, what I call CMQ. So we know IQ, we know what EQ is, right? So intelligence quotient, emotional quotients, even social quotient, we know what these things are. But what our neurotype needs really as thinkers is a cognitive mastery. So the cognitive mastery quotient is something that I've coined. And I've actually just created this assessment. It's on my website if people want to take that and find out what their score is and what their level is of that. That is not how smart you are, but instead how in control of your mind you are. So how much of the observer are you? And you'll see the subcategories in that assessment will be the types of things that make up mastery of the mind. So that's brand new. I just finished it last week, so I'm very excited about that. I've been working on that for some time. And so that is for, the thinker people out there who want to take that.
Is it free to take it?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So they just come to your website and
yes.
It's there for them?
It's there for them. So, it's right up on the screen, drcleverly.com, and it'll say CMQ. And there's also a little tag that says take the CMQ. It leads you to the same place. And there's 50 questions, but they go very quickly. And it's just, you pick off one of 4 answers, just pick it. And it doesn't take very long, maybe 10 minutes. And then you get emailed to you. You'll get your result of what does that mean, right?
Oh, okay. Well, that sounds like something good for us to go just check it out and just analyze what you put together there and see how it works for us to see what results we get.
Yes. You know, I'm working on other assessments as well. They haven't been done yet, but the Thinkers Revolution is about coining new terminology for thinkers, right? So you've
Okay.
got critical thinkers, and then you've got people who, you know, think even deeper than critical thinkers. So it's a critical thinker will see patterns and will be open-minded, but they may not really care as much about the injustice of the world. They may not, you know, think as deeply or want those deeper connections, right?
Okay.
But people who do, there's a name now for that I've coined. You know, everybody knows what an empath is, for example, but 25 years ago, nobody knew what that meant. But those are the deep feelers of the world, right? Not the deep thinkers necessarily, but the deep thinkers, where's our name, right?
Right.
I say we're cognipaths. We're neurocognipaths. And then some people will say, well, I think I might be both a deep feeler and a deep thinker. What am I? And I say, well, then you're the all, you're the omnipath. And so by coining these terms, you can find your community, right? You
Okay.
have to name it to claim it. So creating this community of people who are cognopathic and omnipathic, you know, critical thinkers, gives them something to come to that it's like, this is who I am. I feel accepted. I feel seen in this community. I can have a deep conversation. It doesn't have to be about shoes or the weather with these people, right? They're deeper than that. They care about things that are not shallow, not commercial, for example, right?
Those are the kind of conversations I like to have in my community as well. Is for
Nice.
you to express yourself and talk about things that you don't want to hold in. You want to share it with someone.
Yeah. Community is important, right?
Yes, I
Mhm.
think so. I kind of like the community.
Mhm.
It gives people an opportunity to release and be themselves and talk and discuss with other like-minded individuals.
Mhm.
So, what is the difference in the metacognitive neurotype person?
So the MCN, what I was talking about, the metacognitive neurotype,
Uh-huh.
they're kind of like a critical thinker, but they're introspective. So most people who fall under this category, so a cognipath and an omnipath would be a subtype of that. So the brain or neurotype that I work with, people say, what type is it that you work with? It's not a formal diagnosis type that you're going to find, you know, out there that other people have said, okay, this is a, you know, distinguished brain type of this, of that. This is more a profile of a person. So that metacognitive neurotype is a thinker type. It's what I call the thinker type. And under that, you could be cognitive, you could be the procognitive critical thinker, you could be the cognipath, you could be the omnipath, right? And so when I say procognitive, that's another term I've coined, and it just means pro thinking, in favor of thinking, right? So having these conversations, you know, Bridget, like what you're doing, you know, thinking about thinking, that's what we're doing right now, right?
Right.
That's metacognition.
Okay. All right.
Mm.
Okay. So as we're getting closer to to the coming to the end of the show here, before we wrap up the episode, what is the final blessings and breakthroughs do you want the critical thinkers to take away today from
Mm.
your presentation?
Hmm. You know, I think it's the critical thinkers of the world who can make the greatest impact. They're the ones, you know, the people who think in the different direction with fresh perspective and outside of the box, and the cognipaths and omnipaths who care deeply as well. This is what the world needs, right? And
Yeah.
so if you think more and you feel more than what other people do around you, then you may need a few more skills and tools, you know, in your tool belt in order to deal with thoughts and feelings. That doesn't mean that you're broken, right? You're not alone. You are a minority, but you're not alone. And there are places where you can learn how to increase your CMQ, how you can increase the mastery of your mind. You are the mayor of your mind. You're in charge of your mind. And that's the biggest thing, you know, before you think that you're alone or that there's no way out of your head, that you can't stop the thoughts. You can change that ticker tape.
Okay, we have another question. I constantly tell my granddaughter to never lose her voice. That is my way to support her critical thinking skills. Do you agree with that? You have some suggestions or recommendations to add to that?
That's great. I don't know how to pronounce your name, Stania.
Tanya.
Stania, what a pretty name. Yes, I think it's wonderful that you do that for your granddaughter. And in giving her a voice, you boost her self-esteem and her confidence. And that will give her different thoughts about herself, which is, the way you think about yourself and the way you think about the world is going to create your reality, is going to create how much you respect yourself, how much others will respect you. So that's a brilliant gift that you've given to her.
Okay, are there any more questions anybody want to put in the chat? Well, this has been very informative, Dr. Cleverly. I've gotten some inspiring words from this conversation tonight. It's been very good for me to start thinking and how to think when I'm trying to go to sleep and I'm still thinking.
Yes, yes,
I'm
yes.
gonna wake up and start writing. Sometimes I do that, but then it kind of keeps me from going right back to sleep. I kind of stay woke for a little while because I feel my mind is telling me I've broken up the sleep. So we have another question here. She says you have to be your own champion.
Yes, yes, that's true.
Totally
You do.
agree.
And we all have to be our own champion. But if we've had people in our past when we were little girls, little children, who have championed for us, it's a whole lot easier to be our champion later, right? So we can still do it. We can absolutely still do it just on our own, even if we've never been championed for before. But oftentimes that voice in the back of our head, of somebody that loved us and encouraged us can take us, further up that mountain.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Well, if you have any other anything else to add to tonight for us to watch, we're going to make sure that everyone that's listening tonight that they come out and go out to the internet and look up your company there and take the assessment and see how what value they can get out of it, and maybe it may make them think a little different than the way they're thinking today. So everyone, please go out and take the assessment. It's free. Doesn't hurt to stir up our pure minds just a little bit more. God wants us to continue to think and continue to operate and function and to continue to grow to be a success, to be great at who we are, what we've created for us to be and to do, and to try and do the best that we can, and to love on each other, teach each other, share with each other, and just be good and love. That's what the world is what I want to get from every show that I have, is for us to come together more, support each other, to love on each other, to care about each other. So and thinking is a part of it. Think about other people, think about yourself, think about anything that you can to help yourself and others as well. So bringing you on tonight, it was enlightening for me. I hope that the guests, everyone that's watching from their cell phones or from home on their computers, wherever, that you got something out of this show tonight. I try to bring Dr. Cleverly on someone to inspire us every other week, to give us some incentives, some encouragement, some blessings, and some breakthroughs, how to get to breakthroughs, and what to do when we get there. And because they're coming, breakthroughs are coming for every one of us. I know that God has a plan, and I think everybody's in the plan. It's just where we fall in the plan that we need to be ready when our time comes. So I really enjoyed you. I thank you again, meeting you, and they say very good information. Thank you. So the guest is thanking you for the information you provided tonight as well.
Mhm. Well, I'm happy to have helped, Bridget, and to have been here. For those of your listeners, there's also a free gift on my website if they wish to take it, which is 5 tips to free yourself from the overthinking mind. So they'll find some of the information that I said here, and a little bit more too. So if they want to have that, there's no cost to it. You punch in your email, it gives you all of the information that they want. And they can also follow me on YouTube, on Facebook. I'm there, and I'm always putting out content, right? So about nervous system hacks, how to calm the nervous system, talking about the difference between critical thinking and overthinking, and all of those sort of things. If they're interested, they can go there.
Great. Thank you for having that information out there for us.
Yes, you're very welcome.
Appreciate it so much. And again, we will connect later. Again, we'll be working together. So I will see more of you, and maybe have you on the show again down the road. When you would come back and talk about the neuro brain. You want to touch on that maybe 1 minute. Give us a 1 minute about the neuro brain.
About the neuro brain. About all the different neurotypes that we have.
Neurotypes, yes.
Yes. So the Cognipass and the Omnipass are all part of that too. What you and I were talking about the other night, Gretchen, as well. Bridget, as well, is that so many people are worried about safeguarding their minds, right, and their brains, and that they're wondering how do they take care of it, and the difference between Alzheimer's and dementia, and all of the deficiency diseases of the brain and things like that. So that might be something that can be touched on at another time as well. Right?
Yes, I'd love to have you back so we can talk about that. That sounds like another good topic.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you. Well, we're going to, the show goes so fast. Before you know it, it's over. But, it's because we always have good, involvement, good conversation, good information that's worthy of the time going so fast that we're learning. So that's a good thing. So we're going to get ready to come to a close for tonight. And I want to thank all of my guests for joining, and be safe going home. If you were traveling out there, it was snowing a little earlier, kind of directed me a different direction because of the weather. So we're going to pray that God takes care of us and keep us all safe when we're out on the road. I want to give you a verse to take away with you. Isaiah 43:19 says, "See, I am doing a new thing. Now is springing up. Do you not perceive it? I am making a way in the wilderness and the streams in the wasteland." So take that with you tonight. And we're going to say a closeout prayer. Again, thank you so much. Let's give our Dr. Cleverly a pan for giving us a good night tonight. Thank you. And we're going to close out with a prayer. Thank you, Cleverly. Let's pray out tonight. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this time together. Thank you for every listener and for blessing you and blessing us. You are already pouring out the blessings for us and for the breakthroughs that are on the way. Strengthen our faith, renew our minds, and let your peace rest upon us as we go forth. May your favor surround us like a shield, and may your love guide every step we take. May you protect and guide us as we go through our daily lives, as we go through the rest of this year of 2025. We know that you are going to bless us to make it through to 2026, God, and protect everyone that's out here. We ask that you protect any and every young children, older adults, as they go by the ways of their lives today, Lord. Will you touch them in a special way? And we ask you to continue the blessings and breakthroughs show, as well as WVTC Detroit Radio. In your name, Jesus, we pray. Amen. Thank you, everybody. And Dr. Cleverly, thank you so much. And have a good night, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hey, this is Pastor Lydia. I love WVTC Detroit, where the Spirit is flowing, and I be flowing with the Spirit.
Okay. You ain't changing your mind now, have you?
We're about to be one big happy family.
I'm just hoping I can trust you to return my love.
I mean, as much as I know how to love.
Did you sleep with him?
No! This is toxic.
Don't become the thing that hurt you.
And what is that?
Bitterness.
I really needed you when Daddy died.
Girl, look, there you go with what you need. This not about you. Didn't you find God for that? I'm not here to meet your needs.
I understand that you love her. I get it. But like this, right here, this is toxic. Toxic? Man, who's you talking to like that?
And we're here at the Davidson High School for the first game of the season.
Look, I'm sorry, sir, but we will all run it for our lives.
Hope you enjoy being used, man.
Man, what? No. You better find someone else to play with, bro.
Come right. You both know you ain't about to hit nothing but a high note. You better sit down.
My Bible tells me that the wages of sin is death.
That's wages, honey, not wedges.
I know what this says, Miss Sunday School teacher.
I see that one is coming to the altar.
Now is the time.
Singing and praying with my mind.
Cut.
How you gonna cut singing and praying?
Go to your Apple or Google Play Store and download the WVTC Gospel Radio app today. You can also say, Alexa, play WVTC Radio Skills.
Would you like to play WVTC Radio Network?
Absolutely. Download it today.
You're listening to WVTC Gospel Radio Detroit, and we're flowing in the Spirit.